Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so the name of the song is called Truth by Sappheiros. So it's an upbeat song. It may not fit the title, but I think we need to start looking at narcissist abuse in a much more, I want to say positive, it kind of doesn't, positive way, but in a much more empowering, uplifting way. Because, see, it's kind of like a game. Better you get at it, the quicker you figure it out. And thus life becomes lighter and lighter and lighter and easier, and it begins to become fun again. So let the music of this song guide you in the direction of the light, to let you know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a pretty good time over here. And you know what? You begin to realize a whole lot of freedom, mental, emotional freedom, financial freedom. You begin to step into this space that's an open space where you're free to just be and do. Okay, so before we get to this teaching on narcissist abuse, tactic they use, I want to make a couple thoughts I want to throw out there. Okay, number one, I had a gut feeling that someone, and I think this is about me, I have a feeling someone's just going to show up my door, a friend from the past, friend from high school, just someone from the past, like maybe even two friends, like a group, they're just going to show up, and it's going to be kind of an interesting trip. Number two, I have a feeling I'm going to finally feel an earthquake for the first time in my life. And I mean, the big earthquake back in, what was it, 89 here in San Francisco, or was it 91? I think it was 89 during the baseball game. I was asleep when that happened, but it did wake me up. But by the time I woke up, everything had pretty much settled down. But I did get to see my, my clothes, my hanger, the hangers in the closet rock back and forth they all moved at the same move at the same time. So that was the only real experience that I've had for an earthquake. There have been other mini earthquakes where I might have got dizzy, but I didn't know that there was an earthquake till like a day later. But it was such a small earthquake, it's like, well, is it? Like, you can't really tell when they're that small. So I haven't really experienced, like, even if it was a small earthquake, say 4.1 or 3.6, to where I'm close enough to actually feel it. Now here's the thing, I've lived in the middle of two major fault lines, the San Andreas and the Hayward, and then there's a couple other small ones in the area. I've lived here for 23 years, and I've lived just outside of this area about 35 minutes for another big portion of my life, and I've never experienced an earthquake, so I kind of find that to be a bit odd. So this is the year for earthquakes. The music will be going down in 10 seconds. Okay, here's something I want to briefly mention. You know how, I think it's the 25th of this month. If it's not, you should look it up. It's going to be really soon, of January 2025. Something like 7 planets are going to be in alignment at the same time. So I have a feeling this alignment is going to be kind of it's going to like tighten things up for a while, but I think this alignment is a really good thing, okay? And I think as we get closer, it's kind of like when the full moon comes, people become more emotional or more intense, and more stressed, or it could be more positive, but there's more energy. And I think this alignment is going to do the same thing, but in a much more intense way. I think it can cause earthquakes. I think it may cause things like that. But I do think, and also with you and us, I think it is causing us to go through these learnings and this spiritual experience. It's almost like we're going to the next level. It's like a doorway. So once we get past it, okay, the first 2 or 3 days may not be enough. We might have to get past a little bit more than that. But I think it's going to be kind of a relief. It's going to level us up, is what I'm trying to say. So one of the things that's going to happen, you're going to become much more conscious of your intuition. You're going to realize, wow, what I thought that those people were thinking of me, or what's a better way of saying it, like what you thought about them, or what your intuition was telling you, you're going to realize you were right the entire time. You're going to become more aware of your intuition this year, okay? It's going to be experiencing much more consciousness around your intuition, and that's going to help you in life and in whatever it is that you do. People that don't believe in this stuff, that are not spiritual, that are low, I hate to say about lower levels or denser levels, even then they are going to have a lift, a step up. They're going to become a little bit more in tune, a little bit more aware, and a little bit more open. For those of you who do meditate for long periods of time, whether it's an hour plus, and have been involved in meditation practices for years and years, healing work, etc., your spirituality is really going to tune in this year. You're really going to take it to that next level. Okay, so let's get to what this video is about. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is trauma. It's a trauma bonding secret that narcissists do. So I'm going to call it the sneaky kindness to trauma bonding secret. Now here's I'm going to call it the misunderstanding throughout the entire empath, channels, narcissist abuse channels that talk about narcissists and teach you about it, is they break it down into phases: love bombing, devaluing, ghosting, and then hoovering. Well, that's not exactly, especially the first two pieces, that's what we're going to talk about. So here's the missing piece. I'm going to put it right out there, and I'm going to break it down. Is they tell you that they love bomb you. It depends on the teacher. They say, oh, usually it's 3 months or more, or about 3 months, etc., or whatever. It doesn't matter, okay? And then they go into the devaluing phase. No, they started the devaluing phase almost the very first, second, or third day that you met them. They blend it in very, very smoothly. It's so light in the beginning, you don't notice it at all. Unless you are very keen and aware of devaluing tactics. So I put a video up just last night about that talks about the main one is invalidation, where they invalidate something you said or an experience you had, and they're like, oh, that never, and they'll literally tell you, oh, that never happened. You're like, how do you know? But usually we won't do that. We'll usually defend ourselves. No, you don't understand. No, that's the wrong thing. You want to call them on their bullshit. If they were not there, if they did not talk to the person or people that were there, how could they possibly know? And just say, how do you know? You weren't there. Did you talk to them or something? Now, the last video I shared with a friend, he's like, well, no. I'm like, well, when's the last time you talked to the guy? Well, high school. Well, high school was 30 years ago. So how the F do you know? So here's the deal. When you really become keen to invalidation tactics and gaslighting and all the other stuff, it stands out a lot faster. And I mean a lot faster. And that's why I said earlier in this video about how this song is kind of an upbeat, uplifting song. It's kind of like, is it the right song for this video? Because the faster you see the stuff, you just like, it's like they become clowns. You look at this person like, oh, I see what's going on. And you just walk away. So I want to throw this in really quick. The minute you notice someone's a narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies or tactics, etc., leave, walk and block, and get away from them immediately. Here's why. They can and or will take anything as an attack on them or their confidence or their life or whatever, and you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you can ask the most innocent question. Let me think of something I asked someone. Hold on. So they were actually doing more training on the work that they've been doing for years and years, and I said, oh, will this help you make more money? And they said no, and they kind of paused it when I said no, it won't. And I knew right away, like, oh, they didn't actually like me asking that question. So something as innocent as that could cause them to go on a full-scale war against you behind your back. So the minute I notice someone takes anything as a negative, I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. It's like, because especially if it wasn't a negative, it's like if you have to explain, well, no, I didn't mean it that way. Like, I'm telling you, that's just going to make it worse. You're like, nope, not dealing with this person. Now, let me give you a little caveat on that. Now, I don't mean people who you've known for 6 years and they misunderstood one thing after 6 years. No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about when you first meet someone, within the first couple days or weeks, and they're just like every now and then they're getting they kind of bite their tongue, and you could tell they just kind of like close up. You're like, oh, did they take that personal? Like, what's going on here? If someone does that 2 or 3 times within the first couple meetings of the first week or two, like I'm telling you, it really is a good idea to go away. But if you've known someone for 5 months, 6 months, a year, year and a half, and it's been going well, and they don't take everything personal and stuff like that, that's fine. If once in a while someone misunderstands you, that's fine. All right, so now let's get to this little sneaky, it's a very smooth, call it a smooth operator. It's a very smooth tactic. Some narcissists are better at it than others. And I'll tell you who I think those are. I would say that would be women, because this is a more natural, smooth kind of thing to do. With men, what I've noticed as friends, clients, etc. in the past, they tend to be very abrupt. Just for clarification, I don't mean women in general. I just mean specifically narcissistic or narcissist women. Now, I'm not saying you won't meet someone who's a male that can be smoother than that, but I would say my experience with most men is they're just boom, they drop it. Now, here's what I mean. If you were to truly go from the love bombing phase into the devaluing phase, like it's black and white, you would see that as clear as day. It would just be from one experience to a complete opposite, literally from the light to the dark, from white to black. It would just be like boom. So they can't do that. They have to kind of slowly break you in. So in other words, someone can't go from love bombing you, just treating you really, really excellent, really, really great, and then suddenly one day it just stops and they start devaluing you. It will be way too obvious. And the key to this is they have to be smooth about it. And this is something I figured out very recently. So a lot of people will tell you like, oh, in the very beginning it's love bombing only. It is not love bombing only. I'm telling you, maybe the first 1, 2, 3 days. Okay, I am telling you, they start this very early, but it's really, really small, and that's the secret. Now, what I'm going to explain is it's called trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is when you hurt someone and then you kind of walk away, so it's like they don't connect the hurt to you. And then they come back and they love you, okay? They hug you. Oh, it's okay. So what happens is, okay, it's the same thing we learned in psychology class, where if a dog, let's say you want the dog to sit, so you go sit, and the dog sits, and then you give it a treat. So you reward it, okay? And then they connect that sitting to this positive feeling, this positive experience, whether it's food, or you pet them on the head, or you say good boy, good dog, good girl, or whatever. Okay, so what happens is the dog gets some kind of a physical or emotional reward. That's trauma bonding. It gets to the point where they can physically abuse you or verbally abuse you on such an emotional, traumatic way that you think that that's love. So essentially what they'll do is, trauma bonding is real simple. Let's say it's a mother punishing their child, and they whip them with a belt. They walk out of the room, you're crying, they come back in, they hug you. So now you're connecting that physical and emotional pain, trauma, to being loved. So if it's done long enough, conditioned enough into you, you begin to think that, well, if there's no punishment, then there's no love. So what happens is, when you go out in the world to get into a relationship, well, this person's not verbally punishing or humiliating you or doing any of the things that your parent or whoever did to you before that conditioned this into you. And you're just not, man, I don't feel it, man. I'm not feeling the love. So you move on to someone that's mean to you. And your friends will be like, why do you put up with that? That person's so mean to you. And you're like, what are you talking about? They love me. And you'll even defend it. And that's exactly what a narcissist wants. See, in the beginning, okay, narcissists are lazy people. And here's what they figured out. In the very beginning, they have to put some effort in. In the very beginning, they have to put a lot of reward in. They have to reward you emotionally. And then what they have to do is slowly bring it over. So if they can connect love, positive experiences to being humiliated, embarrassed, told you're dumb, you're an idiot, or just like, oh, you're wrong, all the stuff that they do. in the beginning, if they load this up, what happens is your neurology begins to connect, oh, humiliation to love, oh, punishment to love, oh, this negativity to love, oh, this toxicity to love. And then what they do is they slowly begin to abuse you more and reward you less. Okay? So in the beginning, they love bomb you. So for the first 2 or 3 days, okay, they're probably, but you know what? I actually had an experience where someone started blending this in on the second day, and I was watching going, oh, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it was like, see, this is what I mean. When you can see it, it's really obvious. So it was a very loving experience, warm, physically affectionate, kind. And then there was this constant cut down, this constant belittling. It was about my business. It was about this. It was about anything and everything. And I remember I kind of I literally leaned back and I was watching, and I just watched them, and I was listening to all this stuff. I'm like, oh, they keep doing it. It wasn't just because in the beginning, people joke around, like, I get that, it's cool. But then after a while, you're like, wait a minute, like, why do you keep going over this thing? Like, it was over and over, and they brought it up again, and then it was something else, and they brought it up over and over, and then it was the next day. And I'm just watching this person going, wow. And then they would love me. They'd kind of touch my arm or hug me, and I'm like, wow. It was so just glaring. Now, what I was noticing was how good my body felt when this person would love me, when they would do these kind things, and on and on and on. And then they would cut me down, and then they'd love me again. And I thought, oh, wow, and I will tell you this. This person was a smooth operator. So I'm going to do this in a percentage way that might help you. So in the very beginning, they'll do it like 100% love, warmth, comfort, compliments, love bombing. And then it's 99% love, warmth, and love bombing, and then 1% now here's the thing though, it'll be a very, very minimal trauma. It's just like a little cut down, or a little, oh, they say something funny about your name, or funny about this. It's very quick, it's very light, and it's done with a giggle, like they're, oh, just being cute, while they're talking crap about your business, your name, whatever it is. And here's the deal though, it is really light, and then they love you like 99. So it's like you don't even notice it unless you're paying attention. And then it goes to like 98 and 2%, and then 97 and 3 and 90, and it's really this really smooth transition. Now remember, in the beginning phases, it's going to be so mild and so light that you don't even, it's like really, it's nothing. And you probably won't even register or notice it or become conscious of it at all. You're just feeling wonderful around this person while they kind of sneakily cut you down, gaslight you a little bit, lie to you, say something mean about you or your work or whatever. But it slowly increases. Now here's the deal. It will not increase in intensity at first. Okay, so the first phase where it's 1% trauma, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's such a nice, kind, almost mild, giggly, laughing, funny, cute kind of thing that you don't really, just think, oh, they're joking, they're goofing around, and then you feel this like 91% love or 93% love, and it's like it just feels so good, and that is the hook. So what's happening is they have been conditioning as stimulus response. If you took a psychology class, a better way of understanding this is anchors, something you learn in NLP. It's how to connect something to something else. Okay, so what I do is I take people who've been hurt or traumatized, and then I'll re-anchor that to something empowering, confident building, happy, playful, or even just laughter and happiness and joy. So trauma bonding is the opposite, and it's the opposite of what what is normal, healthy, or natural. They're going to connect this little pain to love, and then a little more pain to love, and a little more and a little more, to where you begin to think that pain and trauma is love. Now here's what happens. When they get about, say, 35% pain to love, because they're slowly switching it from 99% love and 1% pain, now you're getting like, oh God, 35% punishment or trauma, and then you're getting like, what would that be, 65% love or love bombing. At this point, they're starting to increase the intensity of the pain too. That's the other difference, okay? So it's more often pain and a higher intensity pain. So after 8 weeks of this or 12 weeks of this, they'll go 50-50. At this point, they've increased the intensity and the amount. And all of a sudden, they're really hurting you and then loving you. And people around you are going, whoa, what's going on here? I bet a lot of you people have said to you, like, why do you even like that guy? Or why is that person your friend? Or why do you work for that person? All they do is abuse you. And you're like, what are you talking about? They don't abuse me. I bet a lot of you on this channel have said something like that. And at least someone in your life has said something to you about someone you were in love with or in some kind of relationship with. Again, this is a psychological trick that they're pulling on. It's the same thing in psychology when you learn, like, with dogs or even rabbit. Like, I have a rabbit clicker, and when a rabbit's in a really positive mood or does what you want, and you say, oh, good rabbit, and you make the click, and when you do the same click with the same amount of clicks, the rabbit will respond appropriately. And this is what narcissists are doing to you. Now, one thing narcissists will do is they will test you because they want to make sure it is set. So then what they will do something absolutely insanely ridiculous, like the most mean, rudest, hurtful, crazy, wackadoo. Like, I'm trying to think what happened to me. God, what was it? So here's what they'll do first, though. They'll do like a mini one. So let's say they were going to meet you at a restaurant at a certain time, and then they just don't show up. And, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Okay, and then because they're doing like a mini test to see if you come back. Oh, it's okay. And when you do that, they're like, okay, I think I got him. But what they're going to do though is they're going to keep conditioning you, and then about a week later, a month later, whenever, they're going to do like the bomb. They're going to do something so hurtful, so mean. And it's going to be like, because they want to know, can I abuse this person at this point? Because remember, narcissists are lazy. In the beginning phases, the first 8 to 12 weeks, they know they're going to have to put the time and effort, and they're going to have to put the work in. They know this. They know they got to work at this. They know they've got to love bomb you. They know they got to put effort forth, doing nice things, buying you things, taking you places, and all that good stuff, and telling you they love you and how wonderful you are. That's the love bombing phase. But what they want to do is they want to get to the point to where they literally can do 99% abuse and 1% love bombing. And that's what we call breadcrumbing. So essentially what they do is they take all their hurt, all their anger out on you. They blame you for everything. See, this gives them like an emotional high. It makes them feel good about themselves when they're pushing you down, when they're yelling. They're taking their hurt and anger out. And it also relieves them of their own stress and pressure. Whereas most people put 100% of effort or a lot of effort into dealing with their own shit, grounding themselves, taking responsibility, and then doing their best to treat their partner right and being there for their partner. Whereas a narcissist can't feel good if they build you up. They can only feel good if they tear you down. This is one of the ways in how they get source energy, okay? From a biblical perspective, the same word for that is manna from the heavens. Man cannot live on bread and water alone. He lives off of the manna from heaven, which is the spiritual, actual energy from God or from heaven, or however you want to say that. Narcissists have completely cut off from this. And they're like, no, I'm God, I'm special, I'm this, I'm that. And they literally believe, a lot of them have, and probably all of them have God complexes. They think they are so everything. But the problem is, they get really exhausted because they don't have connection to that source energy. So what they do is they traumatize you to get you to open up emotionally. See, when they traumatize you and you yell and scream and cuss at them, notice how sometimes you get so caught up in the toxic trauma, you don't stop and look at them. They're grinning, they're smiling because you're feeding them. When you blow up at them like that, when you burst out and yell and scream, you're literally, it's like they don't even have to pump the gas. You're pumping the gas from you, your fuel, into them that you got from God, that you got the manna or the source energy from heavens from God. all we have to do is starve them out. Like literally, that's all we have to do. Completely stop giving them any energy at all, and it's going to force them to open up because they won't be able to survive. They cannot live without source energy. Now, here's the thing. When they get it from you, it's not as pure, it's not as clean, it's not as healthy, because the only way you can get pure energy from God, from spirit, is from getting it from them. But their chakras are closed, and this is why they can't do it, because they closed off from source. They did it willingly of their own choice. Now, here's the thing. There is an unlimited supply of mana from source energy for everyone. Now, here's the weird thing. Narcissists have to work really hard to set this whole thing up to get source energy from 1 or 2 or 3 more people at a time. Whereas if you just open up to spirit, you get plenty of it, as much as you want. So to pretty much wrap this up, essentially what they do is they set it up to where they get to a point where they can just abuse you at the drop of a hat, anytime, every time, all day, all night long. And you put up with it because you have this very deep, set, conditioned anchor in you that this is love. So you begin, oh, well, I love this person. And that's what happens. You feel, oh, I love, you have this strong feeling, even though it's toxic and it's painful and it's hurtful, you literally might even say it to your friend, oh, I love this person. And they're looking at you like, what's wrong with you? I know. I've been there. So essentially at this point, all they have to do is minimal effort. Once they set it, it's for life until you catch it and then you break it. So they can abuse you day in, day out, and then maybe once a week buy you a hamburger at McDonald's. Now, I'm not kidding, because you get so desperate for love because they've sucked the life out of you. They've sucked the energy. They've sucked the love out of you, and you've given and given and given. By the way, that giving like that, like unrelenting, just constantly giving, you were trained and conditioned to do that at a very young age. Not just by your parents. It's also by teachers and by people that you know growing up in that work. Like, it was conditioned into you. That is not a normal thing. That is not balance. So what ends up happening is they only have to do something nice 1% of the time, literally. And that's why they call it breadcrumbing, because they barely ever do anything. Because what's happening is you are trying to get them back to the beginning of the relationship where they love bombed you, where they treated you really well, where they loved you all the time, they were kind to you, they spoke well of you. They're never going to do it. But here's the weird thing. You're going to fight till the day you die to get them back there. And they're never going to go there. In fact, when you work for it, that's just you doing exactly what they want. Now you're working harder, making them happy to try to get them back there. And it's like that's part of the setup. Now, one of the things we learned in psychology was gambling, especially when you pull those slot machines. See, they wanted people to stay as long as possible, okay? Here's what they learned. If you won too often, you would get bored. So let's say you just kept winning money, you kept winning money, you kept winning money. Let's say you won every third time. They found out that you would actually get bored and you would never come back. And let's say it was every fourth time, man, you still get too much reward. And then every fifth, then sixth. They found out that if it was between 17 and I think it was 28 times or 23 times, something like that. And here's the thing, it had to be random. It couldn't be you won every single time at 17 or 18 or 19 or 20 or whatever. It had to be random, but between a certain number. I think it was like every 17 times to about 28. Don't quote me, it's been a long time since I've been in college. So here's my point. Here's what will happen. Every now and again, they will do something incredible. And you're like, wait, what? And it makes you really believe, oh my God, they love me again. Like, they might buy you a computer laptop. They might pay for something that's like thousands of dollars, and you're like, what the hell? Like, oh, they do love me. And then you fight for their love even more. And you're thinking, oh my God, we're going back to that stage. Oh, it's going to be good again. And then they drop the bomb about 24 hours later. And then you're right back into the devaluing over and over again. And then they buy you a cheeseburger at McDonald's. If you're wondering why I have such a different outlook on narcissist abuse and why I can break things down. It's because of my background and training in NLP and hypnosis. That's really what it is. Psychology has helped me a lot in human behavior. I studied a lot of human behavior and animal behavior. But it really is the NLP. One thing that NLP does is it gets you to see patterns. Everything we do when we help people, heal from stuff, is we're looking for the pattern, such as phobia. Phobia cure is a pattern. Like, we're looking, okay, what is the pattern that runs unconsciously? It's usually about a 3 to 5 step, maybe 6 step pattern at most. So we're just looking for the pieces. So I'll ask you a lot of questions. What happens when you do this? What about this? What about that? And they seem mundane. Like, why is he asking me these questions? Because I'm looking for the pattern. Well, once I see the pattern, I'm like, oh, all we got to do is change this right here. Boom, problem solved. So one of the patterns that I brought up earlier in this video is what they're going to do is they're going to do this transition from 100% love to 90% love to 1% trauma, etc., etc. And while they're doing this, they're trying to see if it has hooked, like literally is what in NLP would say now it's an anchor. It's hooked into your nervous system to where now this button pushes this. Again, they're lazy. So the pattern they're trying to set up is I can abuse the crap out of this person and they will come back almost apologizing and or begging me to come back into their life. That's how they know that you're hooked. So this is the laziness pattern. So what they're going to do, they're going to give you 100% love, 99% love, a lot of love, a little bit of trauma, a little bit of a cut down. And what they're doing is they're connecting massive love to being disrespected, to being gaslit, to being lied to being whatever. This is done on purpose. So everything feels like love to you when they're slowly hurting you. And the way they're doing it, it gets anchored into your nervous system to where this triggers that. And once they have that hooked, they don't have to do any more work almost at all. A little breadcrumbing, 1% to 99% punishment. And what they're going to do is they're going to do like a medium test and like not show up for dinner, just completely blow it off, and they won't answer their phone for hours. And the next day, oh, I'm so sorry, I totally forgot, or I fell asleep, or some bullshit. And then what they're going to do, they're going to love bomb you again to bring you back in, okay? Because they're trying to make sure, because they want it hooked where they can abuse the crap out of you. Then what they're going to do, they might do another medium one, then maybe one more time, but then there's going to be this time where they're going to do the major test where they are purposely going to hurt you. They're going to shove it in your face. It is going to be so obvious that the only person in the room that doesn't know it is you. So each one of these tests gets worse and worse and worse, meaner and meaner and meaner, until they just completely drop the bomb on you. They do one of the most meanest things that's probably happened to you in years. If you come back from that willingly, that's how they know it's hooked. That's how they know that their job is done. From this day forward, all I have to do is one measly 1%, and that's it. And I get to just take all my hurt and anger out on them day and night for the rest of my life. It's up to you when people disrespect you, when people don't show up for dates, to cut them out of your life. When people are mean, rude, and just hurtful to you, to cut them out of your life. This is up to you. You have to make that decision. So let's say you're married, okay? And you realize this is a narcissist. You learn about what it is. You get hurt so bad. You take off, you leave, etc., etc. And then they say, I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to commit to going for 6 months or whatever, okay? It is a strategy. It is a bullshit technique to manipulate you once again. Number one, they will manipulate the therapist against you. They will convince the therapist that it's you that's the bad one, that something's wrong with you, that you're bad, that you're crazy, whatever. I promise you, they will gain rapport with them on a deep level and they will turn it. So here's why they're agreeing to see a therapist. Because in a million years, a narcissist would never go to a therapist. Because in their eyes, they're God. They're perfect. There's nothing wrong with them. It's you. Now, what is the strategy? The strategy is to convince you that, oh, I'm doing the work. I admit it. It's my fault, blah, blah, blah. But really what it is, it's a reset. They have realized, holy shit, that hook wasn't quite set. So what they're going to do is when you let them come back, they're going to start out with love bombing again, okay? They're going to love bomb you, and then they're going to do this transition thing from 100% love, 0% punishment, 99% love, 1% punishment. They're going to do this smooth operator transition thing again. That's what they're doing. And trust me, they will take their time. They will start all over. They're going to make sure this time that that hook is set for good. That is the number one and only goal. Laziness, 1% breadcrumbing for the rest of your life. So training in NLP, it is really constantly about finding the pattern, and how to look for the pattern, and also how to ask questions in a way that reveal the pattern, that bring the patterns up. Another part of it is NLP also teaches you how to see the main or major patterns behind the pattern. Like, what is the pattern that's creating these 5 patterns? Like, oh, it's this. So if we can get the pattern behind these 5 patterns, they all go. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you need a professionally trained coach, energy healer, and I specialize in emotional healing, go ahead and get a hold of me at MikeKollin.com. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like button, click subscribe, go ahead and make a comment, and if you want, there's a donation button or a donation link. It's a PayPal link right there in the description box. Alright guys, that's it. God bless you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.